Yes, it's December 7th.
Yeah, and then a potential one is February. It's on the calendar.
Columbia probably is February.
Yeah.
And that's an invitational. That's a really good one.
Is it?
Yeah, they're tough. And all the teams that come to that are good.
That's fine.
Because I don't think he necessarily need it. He's like, the other day, because I think sometimes taking vacation, it's
Is that
really
Coast
hard.
Island?
That's different.
Is that a mountain that you've
I said,
climbed
he
recently?
takes
No, I don't remember exactly.
Is it a stock picture?
And I said,
Yeah, it's the computer.
Yeah, that's what I have in mind.
Could be. Could be those good.
Yeah.
I got a nice waterfall.
I wish it was like stay down in the bottom corner like where.
So you make it right.
There's
Like
some
the
pretty cool
scene
ones.
of the-
Absolutely.
Smart boy.
Before you put in your password, there's different spots on the screen that you can highlight, and it'll tell you where the picture is.
Wow.
There's
I didn't know
on
that.
this thing.
Did you ever notice the screensaver on Netflix has Heart Lake from Mount Joe? One of the 4 pictures.
And that's why I
Really?
Yeah.
And I have to.
It's been there for years.
Yeah,
Oh my
just think
goodness.
I was looking at it going, that's the McIntyre.
You're like, I know
They might
that.
have convinced me.
Let's just start
You
going.
gotta sign
Okay.
them.
Let's see. John's not here yet. Okay. We'll just go.
You got first. First.
You can tell.
Well, the problem is I can't run my PowerPoint without.
Can I, you can plug my computer in if you want, for the PowerPoint.
I can do it off of the, go ahead, let's start.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the consent agenda. Anybody would like any of the following removed? We have minutes from our last meeting, additional winter coaches assignments and volunteer assistance, and special education. If not, I'd like a motion. Second?
I'll second.
We'll just go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? 5-4, 0 against. At this time is the, for good of the cause, the public may address the board. We've set aside a period not to exceed 30 minutes for the general public to address the board. So please state your name and what you would like to speak about. Nobody? Okay, on to reports. We have Julie Lawrence here to do a presentation on the Lake Placid After School Program.
Dan, would you mind if I interrupt for 1
Sure.
second? Because you know, Julie's a guest here, and you're going to hear her speak, and not everybody you're going to hear speak. I just want to make you aware that we have some guests in the audience. In the back is Terry Bukowski, and you may not know, but Terry's the Olympic Center General Manager. Began, I think, last year, Terry. And we do have an item of information having to do with Orta, so you know, Terry, you know, might be somebody that we communicate with about that. In addition, you know, we have Mary Werner here, who's been here, and her son Charlie is in the hallway, I believe, doing something else.
Yes.
Correct, Mary? You may also know that Mary's on the policy committee with some of us, and so Mary's an active member of our board policy committee. Kristen Basel is also here. I don't know if you're presenting with Julie, Kristen, but Kristen is our alternative ed teacher and also the director of the after-school program. Jim and Beth Guglielmi are here, and you might remember Jim spoke at the last meeting. Who else is here? Andrea, you're here, correct?
Hi,
He
yes.
attends the after-school program.
And attends the after-school program, thank you. And somebody else attends the after-school program.
Andrea's also on our board.
Yeah, and so Andrea is also on the board, but I also want to mention that, because sometimes we don't always know that Andrea also has a role here in the business office. Danny, you want to mention what Andrea does?
She tells us if we're doing things correctly before we cut checks. She's our claims auditor. So I think she's coming in this week, and she goes through all of our payments to make sure that everything is in order before we run a warrant and print checks so that we can pay our bills.
Yeah, you know, Andrea
Nice
provides us
oversight.
with those
Yeah.
quarterly reports, and I know you see them and you read them, but you don't always know who wrote them, so I just think it's nice that you're here. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know Julie's up next. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Julie, sorry about that.
I'm usually interrupting other people.
Oh, okay.
Where would you like me while I do this?
Where are you at?
Do you want to stand, do you just want to stand here and all of
Yeah.
them now?
So I am currently the president of the board of directors for the after-school program here in Lake Placid. Kristen is our director and really runs the whole show. But those of us on the board have kind of been doing a little bit of regrouping this year. Most of the board members exited last year, so there are only a few of us who have even been there for longer than a year. There's only one of us. Or no, two people have been there longer than a year. Three. Anyway, we have a whole bunch of new board members, and as we're going over the program and how it's been structured for all these years, we were just updating everything. And as I mentioned when I first came in 2 meetings ago, we wanted to let you all know what's going on with our program and that, you know, that we exist and we'd like to be a part of the school's strategic plan. So we are administered by our own nonprofit, the Lake Placid Child Care Committee, started in 1989, if you want that next slide, by some parents who realized there was really a need for more after-school programming in the Lake Placid area. And it is a licensed nonprofit. We are overseen by Department of Health, correct? And Department of Health may come in and do random spot inspections, so we have to comply with all of their guidelines. The staff to child ratio is 1 staff member to every 10 kids. And I was out on the playground with them yesterday, and God bless them. I don't know how they do it, but we have really great staff members. We have also recently had a big turnover on staff. We had a lot of staff who've been there for many years, and many of them work other jobs and had just had enough. So we have a lot of new staff members out there learning the ropes and really doing a great job, and Kristen is overseeing all of that. But it's just a great program. We run from 2:50 to 5:30, allows parents to work a full day. But many of the kids are right up there until 5:30, so it's a long day for the kids as well. So they really do a great job of making it fun for them. So many of the parents that I talk to tell me their kids don't want to go home. They can't go pick them up, or if they come early, they yell at them. So that's a great sign that the program is working really well. What else did I want to make sure I hit about this? Oh, very, very important. And I used to be an adjunct instructor at North Country Community College, and I taught substance abuse prevention. So personally, I really feel it's important for you guys to know that those hours in the afternoon are the high-risk hours for kids to participate in unhealthy behaviors and to begin those unhealthy behaviors. So you wouldn't think necessarily in elementary school that those things might begin, but they do. That is when they start, very often with substances that might be found around the house or high-risk sexual behaviors. So it's such a great time to have supervised activities with other caring adults in the community. Our costs and scholarships, we are $14 a day, a max of $50 per week. So if your kid is there 5 days a week, you're not paying any more than $50. And we also provide scholarships to about 5 to 8 families. Is that correct for this year? The Lake Placid Educational Fund gave us a lovely $3,000 grant this year to help increase the number of families that we provide scholarships for. So we work hard to work with any families that may need the program but can't necessarily afford it. And this year there were 60 applications, and so on average we have 40 to 45 children per day at the program. You can go on to that next one. Let's see, so I just want to let you know a little bit about how the program works. They go right, when they finish classes, any kids who are attending the program that day head right to the after-school program unless they're participating in clubs after school, which run until 3:30. They meet up in the cafeteria, and the elementary school is, very generous in giving us full run of the cafeteria for the entire afternoon. So that's our space that we're guaranteed. Other areas in the school we're able to use if there aren't other activities going on in them. So they're frequently using the gym, the computer lab, and the library as well. But first thing they do, and they've tried this many different ways, is take them outside. They've got to get out and run and play and just be fools for a while, and they really are. I watched quite a snow situation yesterday. They're hilarious, but they've worked hard all day in school, and they've got to get that energy out. So they get them outside, they let them play, and then after about 45 minutes, bring them for a snack, and then they start homework, which is so nice because they've got staff members and even older students helping younger students, working together to get that homework done. Especially if the kids aren't getting home till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. To have that done is just one less thing that parents need to be concerned about. In fact, my kids only go once in a while, and whenever they've gone, I'm like, oh yes, your homework's done. Such a relief. So after that, they have so much to do. Kristen's got a huge closet full of activities for them, games, art projects, puzzles, anything you can imagine is in there. Sometimes they do have, and I didn't put this in the presentation, but they also have guest speakers who'll come in. We've had the chemistry teacher come from the school, right?
We actually will come up here for that.
Oh, okay.
We had 4-H just come. Linda from 4-H of Essex County just came and did a presentation with our kids. But we do utilize the staff here, so anytime I can beg, borrow, steal a staff member here, they're usually good. Sandy Huber, who else is here? Robin Paulson used to, Tammy Casey, whoever I can.
Yeah, which is so nice for the kids. They get to meet some of those people who work at the next level up where they're going to be heading eventually, and also to get some new information and some fun activities. They might be doing any number of things after they finish their homework up until the time it's time to go. And I always notice if I get there at the end of the day, the kids helping the staff clean up. I mean, they're a part of the program. They all work together. I really feel the staff and the children, which is lovely. All right. So one of the biggest things that this program does very well is taking kids on field trips. They go everywhere. I put in a long list there of all the different places that they've explored, and this is just in the last year and a half. And that's not all of them. Every kind of picking you can do in the fall, they've done. But also they've got together with the people who run the horse-drawn sleigh rides. They just went out to the Wild Center on the last half day, and my unfortunately dying computer would not let me include photos in the slideshow. But at the end, there is a link to our Facebook page, so you can see all the photos. But they had such a great time at the Wild Center. My gosh, I saw those pictures and I was envious that I wasn't there. So they get them out all over the place, and I really love too that we have a lot of businesses in the community that participate. Dave Nicola always has them in Mr. Mike's to make pizza. I mean, to get to go into a professional kitchen and make pizza, that's such a treat. Adirondack Adventures, the new obstacle course and adventure course out there, has had them. They've been to the Wildlife Refuge. Our mini golf courses always host them. So they really get to do many, many things that they wouldn't otherwise be doing if they were sitting at home. Kristen also last year coordinated small group classes at Blue Seed, so that like 8 to 10 kids, I think, right, went over on various afternoons. So most of the kids stayed at school, but others got to go have these small group classes at Blue Seed. So, working with another community organization to learn some new skills was great. We really appreciate those half-day field trips. A lot of the parents who need to work, it's tough to figure out where they're going to go at 11:30 in the morning. So I guess that's it for that slide. Other things that I wanted to just make sure that you all were aware of that this program does is it provides an opportunity for volunteerism among the middle and high school students. As you know, they have a number of hours that they have to complete before they can graduate. And many of the kids start right away in middle school, coming right back to help, don't they? It's really nice to see some of those faces there, and they're so excited to help. And one of the pictures I wanted to include was from our pancake breakfast at the beginning of this month. But Colin Preston, you all know Colin. He's Jessica Preston's son. He helped us at that pancake breakfast for the entire time. Like most people sign up for an hour or two. He was in the kitchen washing dishes, just had the greatest time helping, and it was so sweet to see. You just really see it gave him this sense of really accomplishing something new. But the kids also will, in addition to volunteering during the after-school program, they'll help with our fundraisers, like the pancake breakfast, marathon aid stations. We haven't yet dragged any of them to movie nights, but I think that we should soon. Movie nights are a little bit of chaos. But again, those are another opportunity for our program to offer something to the community. So our first movie night this year we'll do at the beginning of December, and it gives parents the opportunity just for a couple hours, drop the kids off on a Friday night, whether they need to start their Christmas shopping or just go have a dinner in peace. The kids really enjoy kind of those special evening activities, so that's been something new that we've been implementing. I love that those older students come back to volunteer because it lets the kids get to know those older students, and then they have familiar faces as they go into the middle school. And as many people in this community that these kids can know that provide them with strong relationships and positive relationships is, again, when we're talking about risk factors and high-risk behaviors, the opposite of that are these protective factors that help kids grow resiliency and strengthen relationships, and programs like this are #1 in that area. So we really appreciate that about the program as well. And then finally, I think the last thing I wanted to talk about was just our goals for our relationship with you guys. We were really hoping to get into that strategic plan and not just be a name in there, but also start to integrate ourselves into the school community more and figure out where we might fit in to help with various activities and where our partnership can be strengthened. I mean, we have a solid foundation in that we are at the elementary school every day. But sometimes there can be this feeling of, I guess I would say, your kids. These are, now that they've gone to the after-school program for the day, they're our kids, not the school's kids. And I think we really want to watch to make sure that there's a recognition that these are our kids all day long. And the service that the after-school program provides is just a bridge that the students need to make sure that they're in a healthy environment all day long. And again, some people might even not realize, as Dr. Stratton said to me the other day, that it's not run by the school. Catania, oh my gosh, that was old.
You've gone back.
I just think of Richard saying that. I'm like,
I
here for a long
time.
recently. So that people might think that the after-school program was actually run by the school, and in fact we aren't. We're an entirely separate organization. And then just continuing to keep an eye out for where we could, have partnerships with you all. So I hope you guys will be able to take a look at some of those photos on our Facebook page, because Kristen does a fantastic job of documenting all the fun that they have. And you can just see the joy that the kids have about being there. So thanks for letting us share a little bit about this, and hopefully I'll keep in touch with you guys, and we'll keep growing that.
Thanks, Julie.
Any questions for me?
I just have a comment. I was part of the inaugural 1989 class, and my mother was the inaugural board. And it was real bare bones back in those days, but looking back at it, she was my mom was a single parent mom. I think I'd be in a different place if I didn't have that resource. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be what? A third at least of the parents that are, third to half that are single? that use the program?
Two families, a lot of two-family homes.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
not sure I would say single, but at least two-family homes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really nice, and I think you guys don't ever find yourself in the middle of that very much. There's a nice,
Every once in a while.
it's a positive place, I guess is the way that I would say it, so it's nice to have that one. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank
I
you.
do want to say, Julie, that I've been on the Facebook page and it's awesome. You guys put up a lot of really fun photos.
Your
and
grandson
they're
was
current,
part of the
they're
program.
not something. I did want to ask though one question because I know that you referenced that you have 5 to 8 children that you try to provide scholarship for. I'm assuming most of them are working families, so do any of them qualify for Essex County DSS reimbursement?
Some do, but some do not fill out the paperwork for whatever reason.
Okay.
One family I know has found the paperwork to be quite prohibitive. It's really,
Really?
yeah, it can really become not worth it, I guess. is
Okay.
what they found.
Yeah.
Especially for a working family, they're already working 1 or 2 jobs and still
Yeah.
try to make ends meet, and then to deal with the paperwork can be hard.
Okay.
Lake has a person this year, community schools person, and they can refer a family to them to help them with the paperwork. Throw that out there.
No, that's a great idea, actually.
It's worth the effort, especially if it's covering that $50 fee every week for the course of the year. So I was just curious that most of the families are probably within Essex County that are coming to your program.
Yeah, and some of them you'll find they don't want a full scholarship because there's a pride factor in it, so they will get a partial scholarship. So they will pay part, and then we cover part through the various programs that we administer. It is one of those with the paperwork. I'm not sure if it's so much that. There's a pride detail there, and there's also a lot of detail, as you know from your program, that they don't want to be a part of. it's kind of like our food program at school. A lot of people should fill out the paperwork and they do
And they
not
don't.
fill out the
That's too
paperwork.
bad.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report was supposed to be from John Burdick, but
You might have the time long.
We'll just go on and read it, because then we'll.
okay, so we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Dana?
As you can see from the reports, we're flush with cash in the bank. Yes, that is always nice, but it's usually the case around this time of year because we've collected most of our property tax. So you'll see that previous balance is $16 million. If you look at our ending cash balance as of last month, a little over $21 million, and that factors in all of our reserve accounts as well. Really, we had about $1 million that went out. Good portion of that is obviously salaries at this point, paying our every 2 weeks. Not as much on the outstanding checks left, about $265,000. So that's kind of we've some much higher numbers, but as it looks right now, we are looking good. And you'll see that a good amount of it is in our cash sweep. And that generates a little revenue when it comes to interest. Questions on the treasury report? No real big numbers outstanding, as you can see.
Just one,
Yeah, just one, is that
104.
104, actually, that is St. Agnes School for our pre-K.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was their, they get paid, we pay them quarterly, and the first quarter is like a July to October. So that's that check right there. It's our
And that comes from our statewide grant.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all grant funded, and every year it's based off of what the state is giving us, and they build the budget accordingly.
Thank you.
Yep.
And moving on to the budget status report.
Budget status, you'll see, in terms of our year-to-date revenue, kind of goes hand in hand with our treasury report. Just under $16 million has been brought in. Most of that, 5.6, is from our property tax. Right on par, a little higher than last year, a little over 98%. Has been collected. One number that kind of stands out here is that use of money. You'll see that it was budgeted $15,000, and we've already collected $22,000, and that's really that use of money that's earned interest on investment. So that's a good portion of that is through what we're getting through our cash sweep, among other things. And if you'll notice on the revenue side, we have some additional things kind of broken down in terms of I'm just looking here, interest on taxes, $12,000, tuition day, $15,000, things like that. So that number kind of stood out a little higher than that. But all said and done, we're slightly ahead from last year. 82% of our revenue has been collected. On the expenditure side, you'll see here the one that kind of stands out is the contractual BOCES. Spent a little, it's like $1.6 million there. And if you see that, that's nearly 60% of what is budgeted. Almost twice the amount of where we were last year. And that's really attributed to that capital project payments of about $763. So you take that out, and we're back to kind of on par. But that number does jump out when you see that, say, why are we spending so much more now for both these? Our bill didn't go up, it's just that one payment is really factoring there. And that will also skew the percentage, 30% expenditures versus about 25 from the previous year. So that's kind of where we are with our expenditures.
And that increase continues for how many more years? It's gonna be going forward for both these?
Well, the capital project, we will make one more payment in July,
Yeah.
and then we'll be done with the capital project payments, and looking at it budget-wise, I mean, this year, the administrative budget for BOCES was like 2%. It was actually pretty stable. It was the other side, the program side, that really took a bigger jump this year for the budgeting, but I suspect it'll be similar in years
Yeah.
past, so we'll see that
So the
adjusted.
capital project goes away after this year?
Right, yeah, July we'll make our last payment, so technically we'll talk about it one more time in next year's budget cycle, because we're technically not paying it until next year, yes. Questions on the budget status?
Questions for Dana? Thank you, Dana. So we'll go back up to our athletic program update from Mr. Burdick.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to kind of share with where we are. My apologies for being late. For the fall athletes, we had about 140 athletes participate in fall. That's about 10 less students than last year. I don't know if that's just a natural enrollment, a bit of a decrease, or, but as a percentage, it's, 5 or 6% difference. Some of the kind of highlights, volleyball hosted a Section 710 scrimmage. We had 15 teams, kind of from all the way from St. Lawrence, Section 10, Section 7, all participated in that. It's a pretty popular preseason scrimmage. We use the OTC. They allow us to use all 3 courts. The officials like it because it gives them an opportunity to kind of work the system. OTC lets us do it for free. There's no charge there. We did supply a trainer for it this year at the request of the OTC. The schools have agreed to contribute to that trainer cost next year, if in fact we do it again, but that was good. Volleyball also hosted a Volley for Nance. It's Nancy Morelli. It's in honor of Nancy Morelli, one of our parents who had passed away from cancer a number of years ago. And again, also pretty popular within the Section 7 group. I think they had 8 teams as part of the tournament, and they raised enough to make an $850 donation to the public library and a little over $1,100 donation to the backpack program. But the volleyball players also did some volunteer work for the half triathlon. The boys soccer, Coach Hemsley had the boys. They worked both the regular triathlon and the half triathlon. They get paid a little bit, and they generally just put in the varsity club. Sometimes they buy things like, I think we paid for some of the socks for the boys soccer out of that, but a lot of it just goes towards the charity work that the varsity club tends to do, and some of the things the varsity club tries to purchase for the athletic program. The varsity club is continuing to raise funds. Last year we bought a new canopy tent with the Lake Placid Bomber logo, primarily used for track and field and cross country, because they tend to get put in situations where they don't have any kind of shelter, so they use it there. But it was used. The soccer group used it one day as well in a bad weather piece. They donated about I think it was $1,750 in scholarships. The varsity club did to seniors for last year. They're hoping to at least match that this year, if not move it up a little bit every year. And the varsity club's wish list is now some mobile dugouts. These portable dugouts they can use them for the soccer fields, the lacrosse fields, for places where we don't have where we can't put permanent places. They're pretty expensive. The really nice ones are $12,000 to $13,000 a piece. But you can buy them certainly much cheaper. We don't need the super nice ones. I might have a line on some fairly new dugouts that are Beekmantown had done a capital project and bought new ones for their nice fancy football field, soccer field. If you haven't seen it, it's a nice piece of property. But they also had portable dugouts that the town had bought for the fields they were using. So that's a possibility. But we've also priced and looked at other ones. So it's going to take a while because we'd like to get 4. So, we're probably looking at $20,000 to $30,000 over the course of however long it takes. So I'll be out on the street with a tin cup trying to raise some money, so whatever it takes. Some of the athletic highlights, the boys made it to the finals of sectionals. They lost 1-0 in the finals to Saranac Lake. The girls lost in the semifinals to the eventual winner, also 1-0. Volleyball lost in the sectional finals as well. Boys cross country had 2 that qualified for the state meet that they ran this last Saturday in a very interesting climate where they basically had to shovel 3 miles for the course. And the girls team had 1 sectionals, their second year in a row, and they also competed in states. I don't know where the team finished. I didn't see the final piece. Mikey Scott was the high finisher for the boys. He finished in 22nd, which is nice. That's I don't know how many runners, but I think it's over 100, I believe. And the high finisher for the girls was Harley Cohen. She's the one runner at the varsity level that ran with us from Keene. And she finished right around 50th position.
Eighth, John.
Excuse me?
The girls came in 8th.
They came in 8th. Okay, thank you. I didn't know it. The kind of just the SLP program has picked up the boys hockey this year. We've had about a week and a half of practices. So there's really not a lot to report there. Obviously, one of the bigger challenges is with SLP sports is the transportation piece back and forth because we use both venues. I mean, we had that with girls hockey last year, for half the seasons, but this year it's pretty much an everyday piece now, either transporting boys or girls, one or the other. So we also did last spring was the first time for SLP lacrosse. And again, transportation was a challenge, and it was some learning. I had some learning curve with regards to the facilities needed. So hopefully we'll do that a little better communication with the North Elbow Field folks, because that's really where lacrosse has to take place. But we'll get better at that going forward. The boys hockey is doing an overnight trip to the downstate area near New York City. They're going to play a couple of area teams down there, as well as go see an Islanders game. That's in middle of December. And the girls hockey is also doing a trip out to Oswego, a weekend trip, and they're going to play three games, 3 area teams in that over in Oswego. For the girls particularly, this is kind of a makeup because a lot of teams have come to Lake Placid over the years. So the coaches are like, yeah, I guess at some point we have to pay that back in kind. So they're doing one of the overnight trips out there. That's kind of the highlights. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Nice job, John.
Thank you for your support, absolutely.
We appreciate the letters, the emails every morning,
Mhm.
like helps you figure out what your day's gonna be.
Yeah, me too, by the way. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
I think it is nice, John, that you brought Ryan McHugh on with the boys hockey
Yeah, yes,
program.
yeah, it does help to have that Saranac Lake
Yeah, I think it's a nice
piece.
balance.
Yes.
And he'll bring something really nice to the table, so I think
Right.
it's a great move.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we wanted that from the beginning. Just nobody had initially stepped up, so it was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's great.
yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions for John?
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, superintendent's report.
Right. Just a couple of things. I'm always reminded when we have guests of some issues that are hanging around out there. One of them, Mary's been very passionate about is the bus information and understanding the busing situation. As you know, tonight we're making some appointments to try and move forward with our bus reorganization. That hasn't necessarily resolved some of the shortages that we have and we continue to have, but I want you to know that we're working on it. And probably that's at the heart of a lot of the limits that we've got right now. That makes it hard to make some of the adjustments that we'd like to make. That being said, you know, we've had some back and forth about the bus information. I know that Mary and I have shared some information. There's still some questions remaining, so I have been working on maybe on clarifying, you know, where we stand, so that we'll know what we can do and or when we can do it, depending on that staffing situation. So I want you to know that we're working on it. I want you to know that we're working on it. I want others to know we're working on it too. I make no promises given the real challenges that are out there. We've had to we've had to not make some runs recently because of some of our driver shortages. So we know that's a real problem, and we're working really hard on it. Dana Wood's working real hard on it. I am. We all are. So I just want to make sure I mention that. Another one, Jim Guglielmi brought up last week, the last meeting, which was the recess issue, and I want you to know that the concerns raised by Jim and Julie Lawrence at a previous meeting and others over the past, they're not going on deaf ears. We are paying attention to the recess issue. It's really interesting how one action impacts another. One of the conversations we had was, you know, we actually made an effort to expand recess time a few years back, and Sonia Franklin did a nice job of changing the lunch recess schedule around to provide students with more recess. The unfortunate thing that happened was there were unforeseen issues that arose. One of them had to do with inside facilities during inclement weather. You might remember we've had some inclement weather issues. The board made some changes to our policy. But one of the practical things we had to do is we had changed the recess schedule. We had to change it back in order to accommodate the facility issue. So sometimes, you know, we're between a rock and a hard place, and so that's one thing that we talked about, is how, you know, trying to fix one thing has impacted another. We do have, so we've had some conversations about the fact that teachers do have some discretion to provide more recess to their classrooms, and we're trying to figure out a way where we can, you know, encourage and support them doing that. And we're definitely open to further discussions with students, and also further discussions with others about, you know, how we can make that happen. I know there's many of us that recognize, and I think Julie Lawrence brought it up before, you know, at the end of the day, the students have been confined for so long, and we know that recess can help with that. So, again, I don't have any particular answers. I just want you to know we're thinking about it and we're working on it. And I just want to appreciate everybody, especially all your classmates who did your petition last meeting. Thanks for that, Jim. Other things. So we're now through the first 10 weeks of school and beyond. We're into our second week of the new term. So last week we distributed report cards, first report cards for the year. And there were conferences held with parents and teachers. Widespread participation, especially in the elementary school. Really pleased to see that. The school year, so the school year is moving quickly, and sometimes it's hard to believe that we're almost at, we're now at the holiday season. So here are some other things, as we look ahead. First of all, district-wide, we're going to be beginning our future planning process, and this has been an annual process, but kind of an exciting and enjoyable one. It's really meant to promote ongoing improvement throughout the district. And our future planning process invites all grade level teams and academic departments and other programs to really look at some of the recent changes that they have made or we have made involving their program, but then also to look ahead and see what kind of positive changes we can make to further improve teaching and learning and other programs that are offered to students. So, in addition to asking that broad question, we also ask our stakeholders to consider district-wide goals. So they're not just thinking about their own programs, they're also thinking about the broader picture. And these include building a more positive school culture, which has been an ongoing effort. Also includes promoting civic engagement and helping to empower students to become change agents rather than just recipients of knowledge. We want them to figure out how to do something positive with that, and to extend that to their lives outside of school. And then a big goal that I know the board's been working on, and many of us have been working on, reducing the opportunity gap. So we do ask our departments, our grade levels, and others to think about district-wide issues as well as localized particular situations that we can do, things that we can do to improve upon this. So that's future planning, and that'll be something that we'll be working on over the ongoing weeks, and then principals and schools will get together and sort of organize into some kind of coherent plan, and eventually the principals will bring that to the school board to share what their plans are. Now, other things. This weekend, we have some activities going on. High school music students are participating in the area all-state concert. That's a 2-day preparation followed by concert. And then also this weekend is the Science Olympiad team in its first competition at Cornell University. So best of luck to them and to their coaches. We have any coaches here at the table still? Yes, all right. Still doing it. That's good to know.
We got a good team.
Great. As John mentioned, the fall athletic season has come to an end. Really, just this Saturday was the last event for fall athletics. But of course, as John also mentioned, the winter season is right on its heels. So in the coming weeks, we're looking at hockey scrimmages, basketball scrimmages, tournaments, and then the regular season. So there's a lot going on. Student council members, the high school student council has organized and is continuing to work on improving what it does and how they make contributions to the high school. And some members of the student council will be participating in the Student Leadership Conference, which is going to be at the Crown Plaza, I believe Monday and Tuesday of next week. And so our advisors, Connie Hammack, a high school counselor, and Alan Robinson, our teacher, have been working closely since last year with students to try and create a bigger and better and more active student council. And this conference is a part of that. So that should be a good thing. What else? Tuesday we have our annual early release day. So Tuesday is the last day before the Thanksgiving break. And so we've made that a traditional day to practice our early release. That is a part of our standard emergency practices. Sometimes we combine that with other one of our emergency practices. I know the elementary school has a couple of different drills scheduled for that day too. So Tuesday, we do early release. It's also the last day of school before Thanksgiving break. Schools are off Wednesday through Sunday.
Didn't it used to be earlier, Roger, on Tuesday, that day before, like 10:30, 11 o'clock?
It did. And revisiting the law, it says no early, you cannot release students for this day. You cannot release students for any earlier than 15 minutes before the school day.
Wow.
So that's approximately when we do it, 15
Okay.
or so minutes before the school day. Yeah.
So somebody found that.
Yeah, there's also a renewed effort at the state level, just since
Yeah.
you bring it up, to pay close attention to instructional contact time. And we're now no longer just required to say, yes, we've been in school for 180 days. We're required to put together a daily a spreadsheet for every school and every school level, a spreadsheet which outlines instructional time, non-instructional time, total, and it must meet at the elementary level 900 hours, at the middle high school level 990 hours, and if you don't, there's potential for losing state aid. So they're being tighter and tougher on these kinds of issues, which are really about making sure that kids are in school and that schools aren't shrinking the day or I guess taking too many snow days, that kind of thing, which, as you know, we try not to do, despite the late start. So anyway, I'm sorry to expand on that.
No, it's interesting.
What else? So that's really it for me. I think we won't be meeting until after Thanksgiving, so I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, a great start to the holiday year, holiday season. And I want you to know that we are very thankful for you, our wonderful volunteer school board that oversees what we do here in the school district. So thank you very much.
Just a question on the practice emergency drills.
Yeah.
Want to know if we have any of our, will be involving any of our first responders, community first responders in there.
So we won't be on Tuesday, but we have already done that. So at the elementary school, I don't know if I shared this with you, probably did not. At the elementary school, I believe it was in October. Yeah, in October, we ran a very in-depth lockdown drill. And in that one, we did invite our first responders. So we had ambulance, we had fire, we had police there, and they were able to, observe. Yeah, matter of fact, it was between our first and our second meetings of the safety committee, because at the second meeting, we were able to reflect on that. And I'm here to tell you, the first responders were really happy to be there. They were overall very impressed with what we had, and then we're able to give feedback about things, and also see where, things what we need to work on, as there's always. So thanks for bringing that up. That's everything for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving and holidays to you too.
Thank you.
Okay, information for the board. There's 4 different letters under the executive content. I don't know if you want to
I'm going to talk about
talk
some of them.
about.
Yeah, 'cause some of them do involve some of the discussions we've been having in Order, and Terry's been very closely involved in those. And I do apologize, we don't provide you with background sometimes for these, because they come in like this in the morning or last night, and we don't always get a chance to provide you with background. But if you were to go to, we do have a letter from our attorney, and while letters from attorneys shouldn't be necessarily public, I can give you sort of the overall idea. What our attorney, Bill Kissel's trying to do there is provide you with kind of some details about where we stand with, in particular, the project we've been talking about with the parking garage project. And the parking garage project that we've been talking about is a proposal that ORDA has made, that we have expressed an interest in, and we're trying to figure out how to navigate it. There's some real complications, and I'll just mention a few. You can feel free to chime in here with this, Terry. One of them is that you can imagine how legally this might be complicated. ORDA's putting together the plans and providing the funding and the design to put up a garage. But that garage is either all or mostly, kind of depends on where you look at the lines, on school district property, mostly mimicking what we already have there, which is parking lot. So, how do you do that, right? Do you follow the APA regulations? Do you follow the state education department regulations? Right? We're trying to figure all this stuff out. There's some other pieces to that. There's education law. I think in that letter it reflects. It discusses 403A, which provides some legal limits as to what you can and can't do. And so we've been including our legal counsel, both ORDA's and ours, in these meetings so that we're not overlooking these, so that we know that these are hurdles that we have to jump over. That's part of it. We also have, and I don't know if we have any documents for this. We also have other discussions. We're doing a project. We're doing our own project right now that actually also, in some cases is next to, in other cases goes underneath the ORDA speed skating oval. And so we've had some discussions about the complications of doing that. Do you want to share any more, Terry? If you don't mind me asking Terry to jump in.
Thank you.
Right, and thank you, Roger.
Yeah.
We've had a number of good discussions.
Yeah.
And as of late, just about a week ago, or within the last week here, with a number of individuals from the school. And I guess I want to preface everything with the fact that we're in partnership with you. We're not trying to stop any projects on this side, and I know the feeling is mutual on your side. We just want to move forward for the benefit of all, truly, whether it be with the parking garage, specifically as it can and how it will benefit the school as well as us, and then the same thing down here on the oval. We're not looking to stop anything, and I know there's been a lot of work already provided on that. We're just looking at the liabilities and making certain that, you know, we don't impede on each other's side of things and don't disrupt your project and not disrupting the overall you know, usage as well. On the garage itself specifically, I actually am sitting in on an 8 o'clock meeting tomorrow morning to talk some more specifics about the part of what's in that letter. And I guess in a nutshell, what we're looking is we're just looking for the support in writing from the board and from your side for us to go forward to the APA to submit our application. Not necessarily in full support of exactly what the design and what the garage will be, just so we can move forward with the application. And that's where we are at right now.
So you're talking about the APA letter.
Correct.
And so one of the letters, I'm sorry, there are 2 letters there. I was talking about our attorney letter, but the APA letter, which is actually from me, it's a proposed, just a draft of a letter, would express our support for the APA application.
Correct.
Wouldn't necessarily provide a commitment, but it would allow Word to go forward with the application. So that's for you to read, to raise any questions about. You know, it's important that you're informed and involved in these discussions, because in the end, and this is where it will go. In the end, your responsibility as trustees for the school district, you know, they supersede, you know, most of ours. We're going to do everything that we can do to make sure that, and we're all going to do everything we can do to make sure what we're doing is right for everybody. But your role, of course, is that oversight and to make sure that you are acting in the best interest of the school district, and that's something that only the school board can do. So we're going to try and continue to keep you in the loop, informed, and to make sure that if you want more, we get you more in terms of information or insight. Yeah.
So along those lines, what I would like to see as we go through this process is a paper trail that shows what the discussions you're having, and you say, you know, you would like us to support your application to the APA. We would like that in writing from the order to say, you know, would the school district support our application only so we can move forward. And that's fine. I think we're all in agreement with that, but I think I'd like to see, because this is going to take some time.
Oh.
And there should be a fairly good record of what was done to get us to some point in the future where people are going to go, how did we get here?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know, I'd like to be a record of how we got here. And so it has to, you know, be on both sides. And I think what Roger just wrote with the APA letter is part of that, but I think there needs to be both sides. So we have a good, you know, picture of the whole process, and that's really all I ask.
Yeah. Understood.
Cool.
Roger, I have a question. Compared to the current number of existing parking spots that we have in the district parking area, what would you project that with this parking garage that the parking spaces will be increased to?
We don't, number one, we would never take away spots from the current situation. And as a matter of fact, some of the design characteristics that came up in our meeting earlier this week is going to make that number vary. Okay. So I'd rather not actually, just the takeaway should be that we're not looking to impact and take away anything from the school, but most certainly there's some entry issues and some access issues and some things honestly that came up in one of my other meetings this afternoon that had nothing to do with the garage, but had to do with the other modernization projects going on and how that may impact our USA parking lot. So we're all kind of blending that together.
Just to give you an idea, it's about 90 spaces
Okay.
in our staff lot. Up here, that's what we call the teacher's lot or the staff lot. We probably, on average, fill 75 of those spots with staff.
And as far as, excuse me, as far as the anticipated design of the facility is such that it would be specific parking for the school. So it's not intermixed with what ours would be. There's a very dedicated and very specific area.
Because my question is, Roger, do the parking area that's there now, I mean, obviously on the weekend, do people from the community go in there and park?
Yes.
So if this new parking garage is built, is there going to be a restriction that it's only for the district and only for ORDA functions? Or will you still be allowed to take the overflow
Yes.
from the community that might be able to use it? So potentially, if there are more parking spaces, this could possibly help with the village situation. I'm just thinking kind of outside the box. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it could be
Definite
potentially a
possibility.
win-win, who knows?
Definite possibility, and yes, the answer is it will not be dedicated only to skill and only to order. What I can say is though that the school will be very specific that we want to make sure.
No,
we
I
cover you.
I think we've talked about this. Our goal is to make sure that, we still have, the same access to parking that we have now. We're not losing any of that. That being said, we also allow others to use
Right.
that.
Right.
That's spot which we're happy to do when we don't, when it's not absolutely necessary for us. So I think there's ways right now, there is no place for others to park on say a Friday when people come in. And so it's kind of hectic around here.
Yeah.
We're happy to, we're happy that Order's looking to find places for them because, we're the ones who tell them they have to get out.
No,
And we don't
it's
really
just-
like doing that because they are here as guests. They're not involved with the school, but still, it's just part of being part of the community. So, I think there are benefits, beyond just what, we're gonna get out of this.
In the end, we're looking to get away from the barriers that are up on a Friday morning or a Saturday over
Yeah,
the
can't
weekends
have
when everybody's
weekends,
busy. And neither of us need to pay for a flag man out there.
Right.
So
Yeah, right.
whatever we're doing is
Sure.
to accommodate that.
Maybe too early for this question, but so you have this facility now, it's a parking garage, how do you control, access and to the building and what's going on inside? Is it gonna be staffed by ORDA people, or do you know the answer to that?
Yes, staffed and maintained, but automated, let's put it that way, so it won't be staffed.
Yeah.
For both ends, for the school side as well as the other side.
We're looking forward to automatic order.
Yeah.
Right, right.
No, it's just not.
You're an army, so like that.
Automatic
Yeah.
ones are good.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I think what we're saying is, we want to keep, at least what we have, and then preferably have something that's better than what we
Yes.
already got.
Yeah.
And that's, if we have that, then sure, that's a great, step forward.
And
for the community.
Obviously, there's challenges, and we
course,
face the
okay.
same challenges as the school does on those limitations that we have out there. And there will definitely be challenges along the way through the whole modernization project.
Right.
But in the end, it'll be for the betterment of all, including the village.
And speaking about the village, is it any village officials involved in this discussion, or any other stakeholders?
Yes, and we are meeting next month, actually, at a formal gathering with more of them to go over the entire modernization plan.
And who's representing the school, and are you doing?
We have
The district,
figured
right?
all that, yeah.
Okay. Because we're a stakeholder, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you. One comment on the budget calendar that's also in there, we'll be looking to adopt that at our next December meeting. And final report, or things under report, is linking goals with agenda items.
The Lake Placid after-school program for community outreach, specifically, what is it, addressing for coming up with a new strategic plan?
For sure, and also I would add goal 1 to that as well. And that seems to kind of cover everything on a lot of stuff. Athletics as well, and again, thanks, John. Goal number 1. Agenda items C and D under reports, the treasurer's report, budget status report, etc. is goal number 4, finance. Under information for the board, both 3 and 6, goals 3 and 6. Capital project, goals 1 and 6, and agenda item number 6, A through D, goal number 1. I couldn't come up with any more than that. That's it.
We're cutting you off right there.
Well, you'll thank me. When we go
No,
over
we
it.
do, you know.
Read if we take you down.
Yeah, you can check it
I came up
out.
with
You're
one,
gonna
you
go
know,
back
I
and say,
scooped that
"Get all
out.
Very
this stuff."
fastidious, that's great.
All right, so there. Thank you.
Okay, capital project update. Roger, Dana?
Dana,
Do you want to talk about the mosaic spreadsheet? And then I'll talk about the one I.
Sure, so we've been trying to provide you with more information. I know, Dan, you brought it up at the last meeting on, our expenses. So we've got two spreadsheets there. Remember, you want to talk about one, and I'll talk about the other?
Yeah, talk about the mosaic.
So
one.
one of them, it looks like this, only it's smaller on your screen, right? Provides you with a summary of the contracts, the amount allocated to our allowances, which means money that wasn't specifically allocated but was put in reserve for unforeseen costs that we knew would come up, as well as the change orders, right? So you've been getting these change orders, and I know you've been wondering, so what's the total now? And so this is an attempt to provide you with that. I want you to know that the spreadsheet changes, and so we'll try and provide you with a new one that's similar to this, and we have also discovered that we can get you more information than just the one pager. So if you would like, it looks like we can provide you with a specific list for every contract area for all the additional costs that beyond the original contract, but within the allowance and within the change order amounts. So, basically, if you look at this, if your big question is, do we have any money left? Which is always a good question, right? The answer is yes. And there's a bottom line there. It says subtotal actual funds remaining to date, $1,183,000. Am I looking at the right number there, Dana? $1,183,110.48. That's the number that's the amount of our total expected costs that we have not spent. Right now, we have not allocated for anything. That will probably get smaller as we've discovered that things come up all the time. But the goal is for that to never go to zero.
I think this question's answered in this, but I'm not exactly sure that I can do it right now. So my question is this, of the contingency amount of the overall capital project was 10%? What was the?
Well, there's an incidental estimated at 20% of total. If you look in that second line under.
So $2 million roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like it's three, it's small.
Plus 4.
Like $3.832 million is for incidentals.
Yeah, okay, four.
And then a subtotal contingency 1.56, yes.
Okay, and so, and we've spent roughly 2/3 of it?
So what we spent, actually, Dana, you have that information right on the spreadsheet.
I'm just, the
What
only
we
reason I'm asking is
yeah.
we're early in this project and we've got 3 more years left on them.
Right.
And we're down to, $1 million.
Well, yeah, I think that was that number there in terms of the subtotal actual funds remaining to date. That's not reflective of what we've actually spent. We haven't spent 17-some million dollars on the
But
project.
we've committed.
Right, it's
we've
committed, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right,
when you look at
it's
that.
essentially spent, it just hasn't been spent.
Yes,
yet.
we,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
If you look at it, there's still probably $1.8 million of
Of contingency.
unattached funds.
Okay.
That's kind of still out there for various
So
things.
roughly
Yes.
half. Okay.
The second spreadsheet, I kind of boil it all down, and this really is a running tally of what we have spent. So when you look at that first page, and it's 2 pages because I've broken it out. One of the things that the second spreadsheet does is I've also included the contracts that don't fall under Mosaic, like Atlantic Testing Services. We use them, you approved that contract, it was approximately $35,000
That was
contract.
asbestos.
That is the testing for concrete, testing for like the structures
deals.
Yeah.
Oh, for the, okay.
Yep, so anytime they pour for concrete, the testing service is there to make sure that
Sure.
it is proper mixture and proper density and things like that. The bolts are tightened to the right torque and, yeah. So that's not on the Mosaic. The others, if you.
This is the Mosaic spreadsheet
Right.
that Danny's referring to.
Right.
The other one.
Schoolhouse construction doesn't fall under that because their contract is specifically with us, and you know when they submit a bill, it doesn't go through Mosaic's review. Fiscal advisors, I've been using them to kind of help through our bands on disciplinary notes. We use them as well as they help set up and oversee submittal to the state eds to make sure that our forms were correct. So that state ed has it on record, and then I'll use them again at the end to make sure that we submit all of the reports correctly to state ed so that we can start getting our building aid on a timely manner. Ambient is the asbestos, they're not the removers, they're the monitors. You'll see that, we originally budgeted or contracted $55,000 for them. That was what their proposal came in for, and we've already spent $77,000. But that's tied to the additional abatement work that we see on the Bass Hatfield. There was one change order alone of over $100,000. They're there to monitor.
And they were the ones who did the abatement, Hatfield, Best Hatfield.
Yeah, they were the general contractor, and they subcontracted it out to NRC, and then Sullivan were the two that did the abatements here. As well as the facility equipments, that the specific number there is for the auditorium seats. That's a direct contract with that, as well as Linstar. So once we have the new vestibules, they'll put in new access control panels for buzzing people in. So when you look at it, the second spreadsheet is all of our true expenses. When I gave this to Roger and Karen, I think it was Friday morning, was up to date. We have not had any other bills come in since then. This is, what we have allocated and actually spent. So if you look at it back on the first page, we've actually spent a little over $2.8 million so far. And it breaks down in terms of the contracts, the initial contracts. I didn't get into the details of contingency and allowances because that's the Mosaic spreadsheet. So continue allowing them to do that, but as we get actual bills in to pay, I will update this spreadsheet. So every 2 weeks I'll provide that to you. So it's a nice running total of our true expenses. And then you can kind of compare that to the Mosaic spreadsheet of what's left. And for allowances and contingency and so on and so forth.
I should probably know the answer to this question, but Atlantic Testing, Schoolhouse, Mosaic, are those all part of the incidentals?
They're probably all part of the
budget,
incidentals,
right?
yes.
So that isn't
Right.
included, so that incidentals
Is that
Right.
20%?
is separate from
includes
that
these guys.
1.174, 1.18, whatever it was,
Okay.
$1 million that's left. It's not like we're taking the schoolhouse out of it, because that would go down pretty fast.
Right.
It's really coming out of a whole different allocation.
Yes, it's all part of the incidentals. You look at it, the actual building cost is 13 million. If you look at the Mosaic, the base contract is $13.764 million. That is what the 6 contracts came in at, which was under budget, according to them. So really, that plus the allowances and the incidentals and things like that, that will make up the remaining, $5+ million. And all of those extra things, that's where that's coming from.
So incidentals and allowances are 2 separate items on the Mosaic spreadsheet. And the
Right.
one that I'm looking at here is the one that you just did, the 2.8. is which one? Incidentals are allowed?
That is just total expenses.
That's combined.
It's
That's everything.
combined,
Okay,
yep.
so it's a running total of everything?
It's a running total of everything.
So how do we reconcile those back to which one they come out of? Just out of curiosity. I mean, I know you how to do it, I don't know how to.
Well, that's where the mosaic spreadsheet is keeping track
Right, no,
of,
it's the detail, I get it.
Yeah.
But looking at that, you don't know out of that 2.8, well, you kind of do, where it came from the mosaic spreadsheet. Because it's a line item on theirs, right? Incidental and allowances.
right, yep. And what we get is a payment certification, and it's basically saying, you know, that this next payment is, well, great example, the one that's gonna, the most recent one that's gonna get paid, Bass Hatfield, is $234,000. Which when you look at it and it breaks it down, that, a good portion of that is the abatement that occurred, and the change order of $130-some thousand for the crawl space. So that's how it is. I would, in the spreadsheet, I could look at the numbers and say, you know, what was a change order and what is, because we get the payment and they don't necessarily break it out into payments.
Mm-hmm.
Is it incidental, is it base contract, you know?
They're sending you a bill.
Right, right, and that's what we're doing is, so the way we looked at it is, Mosaic is keeping track and separating it out on their end in terms of what is an incidental, what is a change order, an allowance, and then the second spreadsheet is basically just a running total of what we have expensed, yes.
I'll look at it, I'll get a little more detail if I have questions like that.
Okay.
Thanks.
We're gonna provide the board with a quiz on these two spreadsheets at the next meeting.
Good.
Two questions, you know where I'm going with this. I know it's not technically part of the capital project, but just wondering about that stone,
We do have some news to
The
that.
stone is up.
The stone got put in on Friday, and so that is complete. Mid-State was supposed to come today. Obviously, the weather did not permit it to finish the capping. Mosaic has also inquired as to the punch list from Mid-State. Basically, you get to the end and you say, okay, let's do a walkthrough and let's look at the original contract plus the additional change orders that occurred with, you know, with Mid-State in the front. Have you completed everything that's on that list? And so that that's the next steps. Does not mean that it is entirely finished. There's still a portion of patchwork that, you know, they ran out of time to get into because of the winter. But we have decided to let the Mid-State contracts end and move on our way and go out for bids to finish the last portion of it, which is really just patchwork. If you look up at the front, basically the triangle, you know, portion of it, you'll see that there are places that are clearly in need of patching, and everything is prepped, and then they stopped coming for a while, as you know, and when they came back, the weather had turned and it was too cold to do patchwork that would stay. So the goal is for it to start back up in the springtime as early as the temperatures will allow to finish.
and the next one is the asbestos removal, where are we?
So we're kind of at the, we are at a point where we're waiting for the next phase to begin. So there will be some additional abatement work, possibly over break, depending on it, more likely in the springtime. There's some work that still needs to be done as they start going into the piping of the heating system here, which is getting all replaced. So as that comes up, they will do that, as well as they go into do some additional work, with the work in the auditorium. They'll do some sampling to see what's out there. So there's still that chance, but there will be some more abatements come springtime.
Oh, so a lot of that's budgeted and planned, right?
Yes, that's all budgeted and
But you're
planned.
also talking about the possibility that we might stumble upon
Right.
more, but we don't
Yeah.
have any, right now, right, pressing that.
We don't have any
are
hot spots right
unforeseen or
now.
unbudgeted.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
We did sign a contract with Ambient to come in and do a survey of all of our facilities to complete our HERE reports. It should be done every 3 years, and
Yes.
it hasn't. So we're trying to correct that. But we did sign that contract, and I'm just waiting on them to set the time where they'll come in, they'll do some sampling of all the facilities to test and provide that report. That needs to be on file here, and technically speaking, anytime a contractor comes in to do work in the facility, they should be asking for that report to see where the potential hotspots are.
So are we continually monitoring while we're doing the capital project? I mean, because we are disturbing things.
Yes.
So that's going on, that's ongoing.
Right.
They're doing that all the time.
And that's kind of what happens in some areas that weren't part of the original abatements in the crawl space area.
Yeah.
And most of the abatements here, if you go down to Custodian's office, most of the crawl space to the right, over towards underneath the auditorium and all that was cleaned. There was a small section that was not touched, but it was because it wasn't part of the scope of the work. But now that they're getting into running pipes, that's where that comes up. And that's where it will be addressed as the need arises,
Okay.
yes.
But we're still doing
Yeah.
air monitoring throughout this process.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
That's great, okay, good, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, minutes, we're under consent. Moving on to personal items. First up is a non-teaching staff assignment. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Kelson Thompson as a 12-month bus driver / cleaner for a 1-year probationary appointment beginning November 25th, 2019 and ending on November 24th, 2020. Salary will be step 2 of the CSEA schedule for the 2019-20 school year, $17.82 per hour. Benefits will be prorated for the remainder of the 2019-20 school year. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
Colleen. Any discussion?
I just want to say that he's been Mr. Thompson's been a temporary and part-time employee now for a couple of years. He's a recent graduate. He has been just an absolute joy to have working with us. And so this is a very, very happy appointment for us.
That's nice.
Great.
Good to hear.
Was there a news article about him recently?
It was on Facebook.
I was on Facebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw him on the bus.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yes.
5-4, 0 against. Motion passes. Non-teaching staff appointment change. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, move Nicole Corson, 10-month bus driver, from 6 hours per day, 30 hours per week, to 7.5 hours per day, 37.5 hours a week, with an additional 20 days in the summer. Her rate of pay will remain at $22.87 per hour off step. This assignment will be effective November 20th, 2019. Motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joan. Any discussion?
I'll just add in, sorry, so like I said,
No,
I'll add in for each one here. This is part of our reorganization plan. You talked about it over the previous meetings. And I just want to give a lot of credit to Nikki Corson for working with Dana Wood and Josh Favreau on how to, figure out ways to make the transportation program work more smoothly and cover more ground. This is going to really help us with especially the late afternoon issues that come up and when we have previously not been staffed, and he or she's gonna be able to do that, she'll be able to fill in needed gaps. So again, a part of a really good plan. I give you a lot of credit for doing that. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks, Dan.
5-4, 0 against, motion passes. Another non-teaching staff appointment. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Josh Fabro as a 12-month head driver / grounds. Salary will be step 5 of the CSEA schedule for the 2019-20 school year, $22.32 per hour. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Colleen. Second?
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion?
Well, I'll just add in there, again, this is just a really happy moment for us too. Mr. Fabro, who is also a graduate of our school and has worked for us off and on for a while, really stepped in very difficult circumstances and has taken charge of it. It's been on a temporary basis up to this point of the bus garage. He's learning a lot of things quickly. He's working with a lot of people he never worked with before. But I'm here to tell you that we're so pleased, especially with the strong connection he's building with the schools. And that's probably one of the most important key parts of this appointment is that Josh Fabro works wonderfully with us, but also with the middle high school, also with the elementary school, also with St. Agnes. This is a really, again, we really feel strongly that this is a great appointment.
Yes.
5-4, 0 against, motion passes. Additional winter coaching assignments was under consent. Other action items, special education was also under consent.
There's no new packet.
No new packet for next time. We're moving into the adjournment phase. For next meeting date and locations, December 3rd, December 17th, January 7th, and January 21st. Old agenda topics. Board self-evaluation, I guess we'll talk about that at the,
Did you not talk about it last one? No.
a little bit. I don't know where Rick left it, so. I'm still working on the busing. The after-school program can come off now that we had a presentation. And Rick made a comment about the good of the cause, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end. He wants to have two different sessions, one for general concerns and one for agenda items. So he said we'd talk about that one again too. New agenda topics.
I have one, and we can just discuss it at the next meeting, but with regard to our call list, which I think is working brilliantly with the texting and the emails, but I've had a lot of comments about the lack of the phone call now, because there are some people who don't check their emails that time in the morning, or they turn the phone off, or they don't have a phone. And I know for a fact there was kids that here this morning when school was closed, and I won't name names, but I know a couple of them, and they actually called my son and said, "Did you know school was closed?" Like, "Yeah, didn't you get the text?" And they didn't.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm gonna recommend as part of this is to add the phone call back to the, if we can do it, I don't know if it's technologically possible, I know what we're doing with the text and the email's great. Can we add the phone call back as part of the process?
Why don't you let us figure out where we stand on all that and
Okay,
bring some of that to
and
us.
the other thing I wanted, and we can put this on the agenda for next meeting, and maybe just do it, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. And the other thing was, does it make sense to put at least the high school students on the list as well? Because some of these kids are, on their own, they wake themselves up to make their own breakfast and they come to school, and they're not getting the message. So maybe that's something we should consider doing. And something, I think we're teaching them autonomy and responsibility anyway. We want them to be independent. Maybe we should make that part of the process. Something to think about, anyway. And it just kind of came up today, so I wanted to bring it up. And,
Yeah.
you know,
It is pretty
it's
current.
kind of important, I think, you know. I've done it before. I brought my kid to school and we had a 2-hour delay because I didn't check my phone.
I've got one, Chief. Oh, just the, you know, the board members attending, you know, meetings of other stakeholders, such as the village and town. I know that I wasn't able to make it today, but the town was having hearings on the affordable housing issue. And so, I don't really know the process of assigning board members to do that, but I just wanna make sure that we are, you know, sending board members to the more important, and I mean more important, the meetings that may impact our board.
Yeah, I think, yeah, in regard specifically with the order project, it's important that, because we're part of the process, we're part of the you know, the approval process, so the more we know, the better, I think. And this is gonna go on for a while, so some of us may not be here, you know, over the whole course of the project, but I think that's why I was talking about that paper trail. That would be important, that someone from the district is represented in all of these meetings. Because it's important, because we're a stakeholder, as well as the town and the village. So I think everybody really should be represented and kept in the loop, you know, so to speak.
So I have gotten on the distribution list for the order board meetings, and I do have an agenda. Do you want me to send it out via email? The
Well, I
board
think
meeting's
we should probably
Friday.
figure out how we want to do this as a board, how we
Yeah.
want to represent the district at these meetings, because it is part of what we have to do, and whether it's, you know, it's part of the administration that does it, or a board member, or a combination, I don't know, but we should do it, for sure. I know it's something we can decide right now, but, John, thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
And have that separate and apart from the legislative outreach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is specifically dealing with the district, and
Yeah.
it's something that's gonna impact us down the road forever. And so we need to definitely be, you know, connected to it, to the whole process. How we do that, we can figure that out. That's what I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying I wanna go to the meetings, I'm saying, as a board, we need to have.
I'll give up my seat.
We have a,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. We have a representative that represents the district and reports to the board.
Just to put in a plug for order meetings, they're usually less than a half an hour long.
That's kind of cool.
Depends on the
So,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fairly efficient.
If I'm gonna volunteer for something, that's something I
Yeah.
would consider.
The
Is
shortest
that short?
meetings.
Okay, but yeah, I think we do need to be represented, you know, and make sure we know what the heck's going on. Okay, cool, that's it.
As a sideline, Karen, I think you know that our board meetings now are monthly,
Mhm.
the order board meeting, and this one's been changed, it's Friday.
Right, it's
not
Friday at
Monday.
11 in the
Right,
morning. Yes.
normally they're Mondays, but this is Friday.
Yeah.
And I guess like, a lot of these decisions are approved at the board probably, but they're not, all the, you know, all the work is done ahead of time. Kinda like here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still need to be aware of what's going on. So, okay. Thanks for coming in. Bob.
I'll email out
Thank you so
the,
much, Jeff.
agenda.
Yeah, okay. I mean, can the public come to these?
The board meeting, absolutely.
Okay. And we can do it certainly as a member of the public, until we decide how we want to do it.
And Terry, I know we appreciate you being here.
Yeah,
Mike
thank
Pratt's
you.
also offered to come to our meetings whenever,
Great.
you know, we're interested in Mike's the CEO, so.
Okay.
And I apologize, I haven't made it, you did mention I've been here a year, I apologize, I haven't made it over earlier than this.
Oh, you know, this place, I mean, you can barely keep the people out, so you're lucky you got a seat tonight.
Yeah, you'd have to come 20 minutes earlier next time, so.
So, not under new agenda, but just a piece of information out there. Class of 2023 is selling Blue Bomber gear. Karen had a link on Facebook for it, so if anybody's looking for sweatshirts with Blue Bomber.
Okay.
So, adjournment? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Joe. Second.
Thank you, Joe. The
second
most
it.
important motion you've made all day.
That's right.
Yeah,
All in
Got a date
favor?
with your sofa and a book.
yeah, I know. I haven't been.
Thank you, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy to too. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Jeff. Pleasure.
Jerry, good to see you again.
Thank you. Nice to be here.